You think she loves you? No, she's curating you, trimming away everything that isn't hers, and the man you used to be is already gone. Let us begin with a grotesque and tender image. Imagine you are a rare and magnificent orchid, prized for your unique bloom, and she, your lover, is the master gardener. She builds you a beautiful greenhouse, a private world of perfect temperature and humidity, safe from the harsh winds and common pests of the outside world. She tells you your old friends, those hardy weeds from your past, are a bad influence. They suck the nutrients from your soil. Snip. She insists your family, with their clumsy, calloused hands, don't understand your delicate needs. Snip. She convinces you that your solitary hobbies, those lonely hours spent communing with your own strange thoughts, are a sign of melancholy, a sickness from which she must protect you. Snip. Snip. One day you look around and find yourself in a state of perfect, climate-controlled splendor. You are thriving, you are beautiful, and you are utterly, completely alone, dependent on a single pair of hands for your light, your water, your very survival. The walls of your prison are invisible because they are made of her loving care, and you, in your gratitude, have mistaken your cage for a paradise. This is the first and most insidious sign that you are being controlled, the slow, benevolent curation of your world until it contains only one person, her. Machiavelli, in his cold-blooded advice to any aspiring prince, knew that the first step to securing power is to neutralize all other centers of influence. A prince must disarm the nobles, isolate potential rivals, and ensure that the people look only to him for their security and prosperity. The modern manipulator does not use assassins and spies. They use the far more effective weapons of concern, pity, and therapeutic jargon. The process is never violent. It is a masterpiece of subtlety. It begins with a soft complaint. Your friend Mark is so cynical. I feel like he brings you down. It is framed not as a command, but as an observation about her feelings, about her concern for your well-being. To defend Mark is to invalidate her feelings, to be unkind. So, you see Mark a little less. Then there's your brother. He's always so critical of you. I just want to protect you from that negativity. It sounds like an act of fierce loyalty. So, you dodge your brother's calls. Your weekly poker game, your solitary fishing trip, your late-night work on your personal project, each is gently pathologized. It's escapism. It's avoiding intimacy. It's a trauma response. Each of your lifelines to the outside world, each source of independent identity and perspective, is carefully and methodically severed, not with a sword, but with the surgical precision of a therapist's diagnosis. There is a chilling piece of folklore from the misty, claustrophobic forests of Bavaria about a creature known as the Seelenweber, the soul weaver. It was said to take the form of a perfect lover, someone who understood your every need. It would not devour your soul, it would redecorate its home. It would find the threads of your connection to others, the golden thread of a childhood friendship, the silver thread of a sibling rivalry, the rough hempen thread of a mentor, and it would gently, lovingly snip them one by one. It would then use these severed threads to weave a beautiful, soft, soundproof tapestry that it would hang over all the windows and doors of your heart, until the only voice you could hear was its own. You are living inside that tapestry. You have mistaken the muffled silence for peace. The modern psychological literature, in its dry and passionless way, has given this a name: coercive control. The data, gathered from studies over the last few years, is unequivocal. Isolation is the first and most critical stage in establishing psychological dominance. By eliminating outside perspectives, the controller creates a closed ideological loop, a private reality where their narrative is the only one available. You lose your reference points. You begin to doubt your own judgment. Is Mark really cynical? Is your brother really that critical? After a while, you can no longer tell. Her perception becomes your reality, the fleeting hope, the thin silver thread that the Seelenweber has not yet cut, is the feeling of loneliness you experience in a crowded room of two. It is that strange, inexplicable sadness that descends on you in the middle of a perfectly pleasant evening together. That is your soul remembering the sun. That is the orchid remembering the feel of the chaotic, unpredictable wind. It is the prisoner's memory of freedom, a feeling so faint you have dismissed it as a mood swing. It is not. It is a distress signal from the man you used to be. So I ask you, you in your beautiful, custom-built greenhouse, when was the last time you felt the rain on your face? When was the last time you spoke to someone who wasn't her and felt truly, completely understood without having to translate yourself first? Look around you, admire the perfect solitude, and then tell me, are you being cultivated or are you being contained? Your doubts are not your own. They are seeds planted in the fertile ground of your insecurity. Consider the power of suggestion. A king whispers a rumor about a rival lord's disloyalty into the ears of his courtiers. Soon, the whispers multiply, echoing through the halls, gaining substance with each repetition, until the lord, once trusted, is viewed with suspicion by all. His own doubts begin to fester. He questions his own motives, his own allies. He becomes paralyzed by uncertainty, and the king's power grows, not through force, but through the subtle erosion of his enemy's inner certainty. This is the second sign of unseen control, the insidious cultivation of your self-doubt. Machiavelli understood that to rule effectively, one must not only control the actions of others, but also their thoughts. Fear is a potent weapon, but doubt is a more subtle and far-reaching tool of subjugation. It works from within, weakening your resolve, making you dependent on the controller for reassurance and validation. The process is a delicate art. It rarely involves direct accusations or harsh criticism. Instead, it operates through carefully crafted insinuations, casual observations disguised as concern, and the strategic withholding of praise. Are you sure you're ready for that promotion? It seems like a lot of pressure. It's framed as care, as a gentle expression of worry, but the seed of doubt is planted. Now, every ambition is tinged with anxiety. Every step forward feels precarious. Or, after you've poured your heart into a project, a thoughtful pause, a slight furrowing of the brow, and a non-committal, "That's interesting." The absence of enthusiastic approval speaks volumes. You find yourself seeking her opinion more and more, not for genuine feedback, but for reassurance that you are still worthy, still capable. There is a haunting myth from the fog-choked islands of Scotland about the Baobab Sith, a malevolent spirit disguised as a beautiful woman. They were said to prey on unwary travelers, luring them with promises of affection. Their most potent weapon was not physical strength, but their ability to whisper directly into the minds of their victims, exploiting their deepest fears and insecurities. You are not strong enough. You are not loved. You are a fool. These whispers, though intangible, would erode the traveler's will to resist, leaving them vulnerable to the Baobab Sith's deadly embrace. You are hearing those whispers. They sound like your own thoughts. Modern psychological research on gaslighting, a particularly insidious form of manipulation, confirms Machiavelli's understanding of the power of doubt. Studies from recent years highlight how consistent denial and subtle undermining of a person's perceptions can lead to a profound erosion of their self-belief and their ability to trust their own reality. You begin to question your memory. Did I really say that? Your sanity? Maybe I am being too sensitive. Your very worth. Perhaps she's right. Maybe I'm not good enough. This internal confusion creates a vacuum that the controller is only too happy to fill with their own version of reality, their own rules, their own definitions of who you are and what you are capable of. The fragile hope in this velvet darkness is the sudden, burning dissonance you feel when someone outside her carefully curated world offers you genuine, unqualified praise. It feels alien, uncomfortable. You almost don't believe it. That is the sound of a healthy inner voice struggling to be heard through the constant static of self-doubt. It is a reminder of the man you were before the whispers took root. So, I ask you, alone there in the flickering candlelight of your thoughts, whose voice do you hear when you criticize yourself? Whose standards are you desperately trying to meet? When you look in the mirror, do you see your own reflection, or a distorted image filtered through the lens of her subtle, ever-present evaluation? And if you dare to answer honestly, can you trace the origin of those doubts back to the moment that the first seed was planted in the fertile ground of your own perfectly human vulnerability? Jumper. Your past mistakes are not memories. They are assets in her portfolio, accruing interest in the currency of your guilt. I have seen this in the hushed confessions of ruined men, in the silent, haunted eyes of kings who have lost their thrones not in battle, but in the quiet of their own bedchambers. It is the third, and perhaps the most common sign of a masterful, unseen control, the weaponization of your own conscience. It begins with an act of grace. You make a mistake. You are selfish, you are careless, you are thoughtless, you are human, you confess, you apologize, you are racked with guilt. And she, in a gesture of magnificent, heartbreaking mercy, forgives you. You are flooded with relief, with gratitude. You feel a profound sense of debt to this benevolent, understanding soul who has absolved you of your sins. You believe this is a moment of deepening intimacy. You poor fool. You have just handed your enemy her most powerful and permanent weapon. You have mistaken the signing of a loan agreement for an act of love. From that moment on, a ledger is opened, a ghostly, invisible ledger where your transgression is recorded in indelible ink. Her forgiveness was not a pardon, it was the principal. And the interest is your future compliance. This debt is never spoken of when things are good. The ledger is kept hidden in a dusty vault, but it is always there. And it will be brought out, with a sigh of weary disappointment, at the precise moment you attempt to assert your own will. Do you want a night out with your friends, after she has had a bad day? The ledger appears. It's fine, she'll say, her voice a masterpiece of wounded grace. Go, have fun. I'll just be here. It's okay. After everything, I understand you need your space. The unspoken words hang in the air, heavier than any shout. Remember what I forgave you for. Is this how you repay me? Do you disagree with her on a fundamental issue? The ledger appears. I guess I just thought we were past all that, she'll murmur, looking away. Remember how you hurt me, and now you are hurting me again with your stubbornness. Every attempt at autonomy, every flicker of rebellion is met with a quiet, sorrowful reminder of your outstanding balance. You are kept in a state of perpetual moral defensiveness. You are always wrong, always apologizing, always trying to make it up to her for a crime that was supposedly pardoned months or years ago. This is not love. This is emotional blackmail, perfected into a high art. Machiavelli warned princes against being too liberal with their pardons, for a populace that does not fear the consequences of transgression is a populace that cannot be controlled. A manipulator, however, knows the inverse is also true. A partner who lives in constant fear of their past transgressions is a partner who can be controlled forever. There is a dark fable whispered in the back alleys of old Prague about a golem, a creature of clay that was given life to protect the city. Its one flaw was that in moments of confusion, it could be destructive. After one such incident, its master, a wise but cunning rabbi, Sever, did not destroy it. Instead, he etched a tiny, almost invisible mark onto the golem's forehead, a symbol of its transgression. He then forgave the creature. From that day on, whenever the golem showed a flicker of its own will, a desire to wander beyond the city walls, the rabbi would simply, sadly, touch the mark on its forehead. The golem would be overcome with a crushing, artificial guilt and would return to its duties, docile and obedient. Its great strength was held in check, not by chains, but by the memory of a single, unforgiven sin. You are that golem, and she is touching the mark on your forehead. The modern therapeutic culture, with its emphasis on vulnerability and open communication, has, with the best of intentions, created a perfect breeding ground for this kind of manipulation. You are encouraged to share your feelings, to confess your insecurities, to be an open book. And you do not realize that you are simply providing an inventory of your weaknesses to an expert strategist. You are handing her the blueprint of your own psychological defenses. The only hope of escape, The only path to liberation from this debtor's prison of the soul is a radical and terrifying act. You must declare emotional bankruptcy. You must refuse to acknowledge the debt. It requires you to look at the spectral ledger and deny its power. It requires you to say, either to her or to yourself, "Yes, I made that mistake. I have apologized for it. I have learned from it. It is done. I will not spend the rest of my life paying for it." This act will feel like a monstrous cruelty. It will be framed as such. You will be called ungrateful, unloving, a man without a conscience. It may very well be the act that ends the relationship, but it is also the only act that can save your soul. It is the moment you stop being the golem and remember you are the man who built it. So, I ask you, with the cold, impartial scrutiny of an auditor, what is the current balance in your emotional ledger? Are you solvent, or are you so deeply in her debt that the only thing you truly own is your own guilt? Your grandest dreams have not been forgotten. They have been carefully cataloged, miniaturized, and placed on a dusty shelf in the attic of your relationship. Imagine a great golden eagle, a creature born of storm and sky, whose purpose is to soar on the high thermals and look down upon the whole of the world. Now, imagine this eagle falls in love with a beautiful, clever magpie who builds a comfortable, sturdy nest. The magpie loves the eagle's magnificent wings, but she fears the vast, dangerous sky he belongs to. "The wind is so cruel up there," she coos, bringing him a shiny piece of glass. "And the sun is so harsh. Is it not better to be here, safe with me?" She convinces him that his soaring is a form of loneliness, that his hunting is a needless cruelty. His true purpose, she suggests, is to use his great strength to reinforce their nest, to use his keen eyes to spot only the prettiest baubles for their collection. Slowly, day by day, the eagle forgets the feel of the upper air. He trades the horizon for the four walls of the nest. He is safe, he is comfortable, he is loved. And his wings, once instruments of godlike freedom, are now just ornamental appendages, beautiful but useless. He has become the king of a kingdom that is 3 feet wide. This is the fourth and perhaps the most tragic sign of unseen control, the gentle systematic dismantling of your life's purpose. Every man is born with a mountain to climb, a great work to do, a private sacred mission. This mission is the source of his vital energy, his fire. It is the thing that exists outside of her, independent of her. And for that very reason, it is the greatest threat to a controller's total dominion. A manipulator will never attack your mission directly. That would be too crude, too obvious. She will not say, "Give up your dream." Instead, she will perform a masterpiece of psychological jujitsu. She will reframe your ambition as a character flaw. Your late nights spent working on your business? That's not discipline. That's workaholism, a way of avoiding emotional intimacy. Your risky artistic venture? That's not courage. It's financial irresponsibility, a threat to our future. So your deep, obsessive need to master a skill? That's not passion. It's a childish fixation, a sign you are not ready for a mature, adult relationship. The language is always therapeutic. It is always cloaked in the unimpeachable righteousness of our well-being. Your great world-conquering quest is slowly, skillfully demoted into a hobby. It is something you can do on a Sunday afternoon, after the chores are done. The ship you were building to cross the ocean is turned into a charming model you can keep on the mantelpiece. It is tamed. It is domesticated. It is rendered harmless. Machiavelli taught that a wise prince must eliminate any force within his state that commands a greater loyalty than the state itself. If a general is more beloved by the army than the prince, that general is a threat and must be dealt with. Your life's purpose is that rival general. It commands your loyalty, it consumes your energy, it is the object of your deepest love affair. A controller cannot abide such a rival. She must ensure that she is the sun around which your entire world revolves. Your mission must be demoted from a sun to a dim, distant star, a quaint twinkle you can point to now and then with a sense of wistful nostalgia. There is a strange, sad legend from the Incan Empire about a high priest who could hear the voice of the sun god, Inti. His prophecies guided the empire, but the empress was a jealous woman. She did not want the empire to listen to Inti, she wanted it to listen to her. She didn't have the priest killed. Instead, she built him a magnificent golden temple, deep in the palace, with no windows. She filled it with music, food, and every comfort. "Why climb the cold mountains to hear the god," she whispered, "when you can worship him in such comfort here?" The priest, seduced by the ease, agreed. But in the windowless temple, he could no longer see the sun. Its voice grew fainter and fainter, until one day, it fell silent. The priest was still the high priest. He still wore the robes, but he was a hollow man, a prophet with nothing to say, his entire world now confined to the golden, sunless room the empress had built for him. You are in that temple. You are surrounded by the comforts of the relationship, by the undeniable logic of domestic stability. But can you still hear the voice of your own sun god? The faint, almost imperceptible hope in this gilded cage is the sudden, sharp pang of a forgotten longing. It is the moment you see another man's ship sailing for the horizon, and you feel a bitter ache in your own soul. It is the moment you dust off your old blueprints, and for a split second, you remember the smell of sawdust and the promise of the open sea. That ache is your true self, the mountain spirit, the eagle screaming from beneath the soft, suffocating layers of a comfortable life. It is reminding you that you were born to be a king, not the well-kept consort of a queen. So I ask you this, as you sit in the beautiful, safe, and perfectly arranged nest you have built together, what great, wild, and dangerous sky have you forgotten the shape of? What ocean do you no longer dream about? And whose voice convinced you that this comfortable cage was a better home than the boundless freedom you were born for? The most perfect tyrant does not need a throne. He rules from the fortress of your own mind. We have walked through the gardens of your isolation. We have navigated the fog of your doubt. We have audited the ledgers of your guilt. And we have mourned in the museum of your ambition. But now we arrive at the final circle of this quiet hell, the last and most perfect sign of your subjugation. It is the point at which the controller becomes redundant. She no longer needs to be there to pull the strings, because you have learned to dance so perfectly on your own. Her voice has become your own inner monologue. This is the masterstroke of psychological control, the pinnacle of the Machiavellian art. The greatest prince does not rule by force, but by shaping the very culture and beliefs of his people until they police themselves on his behalf. The ultimate manipulator does not need to issue commands. She has so thoroughly colonized your mind that you now issue her commands to yourself in your own voice, believing them to be your own thoughts. You are about to take a risk, to ask for a raise, to start a new venture. And a voice in your head, a voice that sounds suspiciously like your own, says, "Is that really a good idea? It's so risky. What if you fail? It's probably better to be safe." You look at another woman, and before the flicker of attraction can even register, a wave of preemptive guilt washes over you. A guilt she would have made you feel. You have a free afternoon, a space to create or to rest, and you feel a restless anxiety, a sense that you should be doing something productive for us. Her values have become your values. Her fears have become your fears. Her definition of your worth has become your own self-assessment. You are the puppet, yes, but the strings have been cut. The ventriloquist has left the stage. And yet you sit there, on your little chair in the spotlight, and your wooden mouth opens and closes, speaking her words, performing her play, all by yourself. You have become your own warden. There is a terrifying story they tell in the folklore of the spirit world. It speaks of a creature called an echo eater, a spirit that, instead of consuming souls, consumes voices. It would attach itself to a person and, over many years, learn the precise timbre and cadence of their inner voice, the one they use to think and reason with. Once it had perfected its imitation, it would devour the original voice and take its place. From that moment on, the person would live a normal life, but their every thought, every decision, every private reflection would be the voice of the echo eater, subtly guiding them towards the creature's own unknowable ends. The person would never know they had been replaced from the inside out. The controller has become your echo eater. She has learned your inner voice and replaced it with a flawless copy of her own. This is the final, most difficult prison to escape because it has no visible bars. It is a prison made of your own neural pathways. The most advanced psychological analyses of our time, those attempting to map the long-term effects of coercive control, have observed this phenomenon with clinical precision. They call it introjection, a dry academic term for the soul's surrender. It describes the process by which the victim internalizes the abuser's worldview so completely that they become a self-sustaining echo chamber of their controller's ideology. But even here, in this deepest and most silent dungeon, there is a flicker of hope. It is not a grand, heroic hope. It is a small, terrifying, and intensely private one. It is the moment of pure, uncut cognitive dissonance. It happens when you do something, or think something, and for a split second, a deeper, older part of you asks a simple, horrifying question. Why? Why do I feel guilty about this? Why am I afraid of this opportunity? Why do I believe this about myself? It is the moment you hold one of your own thoughts up to the light and realize it has someone else's fingerprints all over it. This moment is the beginning of the exorcism. It is the act of becoming an archaeologist of your own mind, digging through the layers of conviction and asking of every single belief, is this mine, or was it planted here? This is the hardest work of all. It is the slow, painstaking process of separating your true self from the ghost that has worn your face. It requires a brutal honesty and a willingness to sit in the terrifying silence that is left when you stop letting the echo speak, but it is the only path back to yourself. So, I leave you with this final, whispered question. The next time your mind speaks to you, the next time you feel a familiar pang of guilt or a flicker of self-doubt, stop and listen very, very carefully. Is it your voice you are hearing, or are you just a beautiful, hollow instrument playing a song that was written for you by somebody else?